Hello everyone, Moni here, and today we're talking about how to choose a Feng-Shui-correct coffee table. So let's start by talking about the materials. The best materials for a coffee table are wood and the padded material that you would have in a storage ottoman if you want to use a storage ottoman, or an ottoman, just any ottoman as a coffee table. So those two options are okay. Other choices like glass, metal, marble, or stone, they are not feng shui correct for coffee tables. And the reason for that is that the coffee table is so low that it's easy for a person that gets distracted to hit it with their calves or their shins. And if you have a material like metal or glass or marble or stone, it's very likely that person is going to get hurt. So you want to avoid that completely. You also want to avoid materials like plastic or resins because those are considered dead in terms of qi. So best materials for a coffee table from the feng shui viewpoint would be wood, solid wood, and the padded material of an ottoman or a storage ottoman. The second consideration would be the shape. The best shapes for a coffee table are rectangular with rounded corners or oval, oblong shapes. Square coffee tables and round coffee tables, they usually don't look good. You don't know what to do with them because you usually have a rectangular rug in the living room that is placed parallel to the sofa. So with a round or square coffee table or any other odd shape, that's not going to look good. So you're going to be looking for either a rectangular table with round corners or an oval or oblong coffee table. Okay, let's talk now about the details of the coffee table. So you want to make sure your coffee table is finished in a way that the corners are rounded. You do not want a coffee table that has sharp corners, and so many coffee tables today have really sharp corners. And it's not uncommon for a feng shui consultant to go into homes of clients and find out that every single family member has had one injury or another on their coffee table because their coffee table is a weapon of leg destruction. And so you got to make sure that the coffee table has rounded corners. The top of the table has rounded corners unless it's oval or oblong, which the roundedness would already be there. You also want to make sure that your coffee table is not solid all the way to the floor. You want to have some room between the bottom of the coffee table and the rug or the floor. Now, you can have, for example, the storage ottoman as a coffee table, or you can have one of those coffee tables where the top lifts and you have storage underneath, but there still should be some room between the floor and the coffee table, so there should be at least short legs, right? Speaking of legs, you want to make sure that your coffee table doesn't have legs that protrude. You know, some coffee tables have these elaborate legs that go out like that, or they're like a trapezoid. Anything that could become a potential tripping hazard is considered bad feng shui. So the legs of your coffee table ideally would also be rounded so you would never have a chance to have an accident on them. The purpose of the coffee table, so it's the coffee table, right? And so in many homes, you probably are going to bring a tray with coffee maybe, and you have a coffee table book. But in a lot of homes, the coffee table is going to be used for other purposes. Like in a lot of homes, children are going to kneel on the rug under the coffee table, and maybe they'll play with their toys on the coffee table. And in some homes, people like to put their feet on the coffee table. And you can imagine the arguments between a husband and wife because somebody puts their feet on the coffee table and is like, okay, don't put your feet on the coffee table, right? And so you have to make a decision because your coffee table is a part of a living space. You have to make a decision of whether your living space is going to be a formal living room or if it's going to be a cozy, dynamic family room. Obviously, if you decide that it's going to be a formal living room, your coffee table needs to be more elegant, fancy. But if you're going to decide that it is a cozy family room, then what you want is you want something where people could put their feet on the floor and on the table, and it's not going to be a problem. So, for example, in our home, we have a padded storage ottoman with short legs as our coffee table. So we keep some blankets there and to in case, in the winter that we want a blanket or something like that. And it's very, very practical for us, and then so we can push it, and if we're not wearing shoes, it's the only light color piece of furniture in my home. It's beige of white. And so as long as you're not wearing shoes, I allow people to put their feet on the ottoman if they want to move it close to their love seat or the sofa, so they want to watch TV or play video games or whatever. The orientation of your rectangular, oval, or oblong coffee table has to be with the long side parallel to the couch. That is a given. It never works, and I've seen it and I tried it. It never works to have the short side of the coffee table parallel to the sofa. That doesn't work. The coffee table, the long side, has to be parallel to the sofa. And so let's summarize, right? You want a coffee table that is either wooden or padded material. You want a coffee table that is rectangular, oblong, or oval. If it is rectangular, it needs to have rounded corners. You want to make sure your coffee table doesn't have any rounded corners, any sharp corners, and you want to make sure your coffee table doesn't have protruding legs where people could trip. Other popular materials for coffee tables are not Feng-Shui correct. I remember when I was in my early 20s, a lot of my friends from high school were getting married, and what was in fashion were these bases made of stone or marble and just a pane of glass on top of that. That's very bad Feng Shui. But it's worse Feng Shui. Like if you had like a rectangular piece of glass over the stone with rounded corners, that wouldn't be as bad as having sharp corners. Metal coffee tables also not a good idea because they're too cold. Even if your coffee table, so let me think, you could have a metal coffee table that's kind of rounded. It still kind of looks industrial, and it usually doesn't go well either in a living room or a family room. There's also some coffee tables where you have the edge is made of metal and that you have glass on the top. Those also are not recommended. And so there's several reasons why you don't want glass. One of them is even worse, mirror, right? So coffee tables are covered in mirror. But one reason you don't want glass on your coffee table is that, especially if it's a family room rather than a formal living room, there's going to be a lot of people touching it, and then you're never going to be able to keep it clean. You're always going to be seeing the thumbprints of people there. And so that's one reason. The other reason, it gives you a feeling, even though it's the glass there and nothing is going to fall to the ground, it gives you a feeling of a vacuum. So when you are putting coffee on it or a cup of tea, whatever it is, it feels off. You also have to be careful with this because if you have a glass table and you put, say, like a really hot coffee pot on the table and you forget to put a coaster on it or something, you might, because of the temperature difference, you might actually break the glass. If you have children, it's really dangerous to have a coffee table that is made of glass or has glass on top because children are going to want to climb on it. So it's really bad. Everything that is safe for a toddler is also good Feng Shui. So you can just go through a home, and if there's anything that would be unsafe for a toddler, you can be sure that's going to be bad Feng Shui. And so do not choose glass as your material for coffee tables. Now, regarding the color of the coffee table, if it's wood, then it's going to it'll be stained wood, or you could also paint the wood. What you want to make sure is that your coffee table is not in too much contrast. There can be some contrast, but not too much contrast with the rest of the living room or family room. So, for example, if you have a family, say a living room in kind of like off-white, subtle earth tones, you are not going to want to have a coffee table that is fluorescent green, right? Because that would not mesh, that wouldn't go well. And you would look at the elements to choose the color of your coffee table. Sometimes choosing the color of the coffee table can complement the elements. For example, if you are missing the water element in your home or in that room, specifically in the living room or the family room, then you could get a coffee table in dark wood or even black, and that would bring in the water element to that room. And so you have to look at the colors that you have already. You have to make sure things match. You want some contrast, but not too much contrast. What you don't want is a color that blends. So you don't want your coffee table to be in a color that blends, kind of camouflages with the rug, because then you're going to have the problem that some people might not see it and might walk into it. And so those are my recommendations for choosing a Feng Shui correct coffee table. Let me know how happy you are with your coffee table. If you want to, post a photo in the comments of your coffee table. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.